Welcome to Wook Plus. I'm Weekend Wook, joined by Kev the Great Wank. Kev, what a great fucking show. Sorry, great
A
show. I gotta be careful.
show in Grand Rapids on a Tuesday night when the rumor mill was thick beforehand and they delivered. It's probably going to be the show of the tour. Unless Billy shows up again tomorrow night, he might be hanging out. And I
you
know I've
love
said that at Deer Creek, but
you love throwing that out there. Show of
I
every
can't.
tour, every show is show of tour. Uh yeah, no, it was fun. I mean, I'm not it's so weird. I say I'm not a big sit-in guy, but the last couple of sit-ins I've been really impressed by and like, damn. Um we'll
I
talk
was thinking
we'll probably
Derek
talk a
Hill.
bit about Billy.
I kept thinking Derek Hill.
No. I think Derek probably edges out a little bit to me as
No
far as
way.
overall.
Derek isn't a team player. Derek's like, here's my solo kind of guy. Whereas Billy's like, what you got, Trey? Let's make eye contact.
Well, yeah, listen, I don't want to get into comparing because I thought they were both great, and you're going to trigger me into or like trick me into like talking shit about Billy. I thought, all right, well, since we're going to do tonight upside down real quick, just because I want to say this one point. When it worked, it really worked. I think, especially with the bluegrass songs, but some of the jams in like Moma and what was the ending jam? Oh, like everything's right. Like when it worked, some of it really worked. His vocals were also fantastic. The Possum vocals were insane, but there were moments where it really didn't work for brief, interludes. Whereas I thought Derek fit really well the whole time. So I think if they play, if Billy sat in again, I would probably be even better.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
All right,
know.
let's get
I
into this
probably just
first set.
pissed off a bunch of people, but
Let's get into this first set. All right, Strawberry Letter 23. My kid's in the kitchen. And she's like, I know this song. And she said, they're killing it. They're just, and she didn't mean it in a good way.
they're murdering it. You suck
I
the
love
hell
it.
up,
I
Esty.
love it. But I get what she's saying. Trey is not a soul singer in the traditional sense. So it sounds a little strained, him trying to get that thing.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of this. I loved it the first one, or at least the first I heard. Was Baker's the day like the first time they did it? Like I thought it was a very cool, like novel thing, but then it's kind of like, I think they could retire it, right? I don't think this one needs to be in heavy rotation, personally.
Good
But
opener, though. Nice opener. It gives people something to check off their list, their
yeah,
stats.
I thought the Sigma Oasis though was pretty sweet. Nice little interesting jam to get things moving a little bit, open things up a little bit.
I
You know,
I don't think the song's worth the jam anymore. But Trey
really,
likes it.
what does that mean? The
What
jam
does that
wasn't
mean?
rewarding enough to make the song worth it.
There were a couple where they really hit it, but like a Ruby Waves, as dumb as that lyric is, you sit through it because you know you're going to get something, a huge jam afterwards. Sigma sometimes seems canned to me. Like they go to one place with it every time, and that's what it is.
I don't know. I think it's a good first set jam. I'm okay with it, but that's fair. Dude,
Peaches, peaches, peaches.
Not only did they bust out Peaches, but they nailed it. It sounded so clean and like
It
that's.
sounded.
I mean, it's
They
been forever
practiced.
since they had to have. They
They
nailed
ran
it.
through it. They ran through it in the dressing room like 4 or 5 times because Trey really was familiar with it.
That was 115 song gap, and
Right.
before
And then
that was
like 100 before
139.
that.
Yeah.
Right. So
Oh man,
we'll see. Maybe that one will pop up at Mondegreen.
I don't
Because that
think
way you give
so.
it to everyone. Everyone gets to check it off then.
I mean, I don't know. I don't think it should now. I think that it busted out. They busted it out. Let's put it back. But I'm really glad they did, and I think they nailed it. Another minuscule tube, and this is one of those songs that I can't get past the whole size of the jam thing. And normally I try to like combat that and not let like not be a size queen, but like I can't help but build up anticipation when they go in a tube, and I'm like, are they gonna do it? And then when they don't, even if what they did was awesome, like I think tonight what they did sounded good, But the fact that they didn't really take it anywhere, I couldn't help but be a little bit disappointed, I guess.
It's always a disappointment these days.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a good, fun, high energy groove, and the
But I
re-entry
think
is the
that's
best re-entry they have, but they just don't take it out far enough.
but I think the ones they used to take out, that time is past, and in Trey's mind, it's just a mid-set little romp they can go through, get a nice little groove, and then hit it, boom, move on to something maybe more interesting to them, like the theme, where again we find the instrumental passages of it unique. It seems like every time they find something new in theme constantly.
Theme now is in a resurgence, I feel like. It's another it had I felt for me personally, I felt it had gotten a little bit stale, you know, several years ago, and now it's just refining itself. I will push back on the whole blaming Trey for everything though, because I kind of get the impression that PHiSH, as much as I love him and I stand for him, he's the one. He literally is the one that ripcords Tube every time, and like a couple of times Trey's been mid phrase doing some noodly crazy thing, and then PHiSH is just like does the triplets, and you're like, oh, I guess we're out of it. So I got to get in PHiSH's ear and be like, man, just sit back. Don't you have the power. Don't get out of it.
Right.
But yeah, no, the theme was good.
Hang back in the
That's-
groove. All right, another stash, third one this tour, third one that again, interesting places. Like I feel like theme stash, some of these songs they've completely re-embraced over in 4.0, but especially over the past 18 months.
Stash is hard because I can't think of a bad one. It is, they just have it so on lock, and that's not to like discredit. Like it's not like it's like an easy song or whatever, but it's such a high batting average song that just always hits. And I thought it hit again tonight. It's just hard to be like, oh, that was the best stash ever, because or not even the best ever, but like recently, because they're all really good. I think they've all been really landing. I missed Train Song. I didn't even hear it. I just saw it on the set list, so I must have like.
It was a troll. I think they were trolling that Billy does all kinds of Train songs. If you look at Billy's strength set list, I don't know. It seemed to me like they were like them doing it. We're saying Billy's not here.
Yeah.
Don't trick yourselves, and it's so short. But I felt like Trey really took control of this. Like Mike was lagging behind him in the vocal, and Trey had an iPad or whatever. He was reading the lyrics, Mike wasn't. So it felt like Mike was trying to keep up with him with it. But again, how often do they do it? Once a year, maybe twice?
Yeah, not that often. It's not in heavy rotation. If that was the intent, which I buy that. I think that's probably you're probably onto something. That's kind of funny as shit, actually. Steam was pretty good. I think it was serviceable. This is one that's gotten neutered a bit though, and is another frustrating one a little bit because it has a lot of potential, but not everything can be a huge jam vehicle. And I don't know if it's worth even complaining about it, but I thought it was pretty good.
Yep. I love Rift. I love Rift.
Me too.
They could do it every night. I'd be okay.
Especially when they play it like that. It was really nice. Nicely done. Really clean. All right. Highlight of the
Way
set.
to end the set. Way to end the set.
And I was, I feel like there was a lot of anticipation for Jin. What did we? Was this the first one on tour?
No.
Am I losing my mind?
There was at least
an Alpine. The Alpine one. Yeah. Oh wait, and then I'm sorry. There's been two. This is the third. I don't know. I was in the moment. I had forgotten about it, and when they started playing it, I was so pumped to hear it. Yeah, I see that, RP. I'm sorry. Anyway, this jam was fantastic and a great way to end the set. Really nice climax at the end. Yeah, there are a lot of repeats, but I think that's actually working in their favor because everything's so locked in and sounding so clean this tour.
Right. you play Jin the third time, you get a solid 16-minute Jin that covers all the bases and really doesn't waste any time.
Yeah. But they're also mixing in a lot of bust outs, like getting Peaches tonight or the whole first set of night 3 at
The
at
train
Deer
song,
Creek.
the Strawberry
Yeah.
Letter.
It
Yeah.
makes it work because you get the like the big staple songs are get locked in and clean and they spread the love, but then you also get in some nuance. So great,
Yeah.
great first set. I was really pleased with this. I was like, all right, this is going to be a good show.
Yep.
All
Now, I
right.
tell you what, we're nailing down our plans for Mondegreen still. Tim, and I will all be there. We're planning on taping live and then uploading. So if you're there, I know SC wants to come heckle us in person. So we're going to figure out how to make sure that at some point you guys can come over if you want to hear us do this live. But for everybody watching, make sure you like and subscribe. If you're watching this later, leave us a comment. Tell us, what you feel about the show, what you like, what you want to hear more of, what you don't. You got anything, Tim?
Yeah, I don't know that I want to record this show with a live audience, but we'll see how it goes.
Well,
That
we
sounds
have
like
at least have
chaos.
to invite SC. We at least have to have SC because
Oh
we want to know if
yeah,
he's Mike Gordon, really. So
I would love to have SC hang out with us. Yeah, and then I also just want to encourage everybody to subscribe because we had this goal of hitting 5,000 subs by Mondegreen, and honestly, it seemed highly unattainable until like a week ago, and then things just started blowing up, and we're only
70.
yes, 68 subs away. So if you haven't yet and you like what you listen to, or even if you only kind of like what you listen to, or even if you hate it, please still subscribe. It means a lot.
Right.
It goes
We got one guy who thumbs down every episode. If you're going to do that, just make sure you subscribe.
Yeah, I know who that is. I know who you are. That one guy.
That one guy. All right, this second set, it was 2 sets, tale of 2 sets, because Hood is the end of a set, right? So it was almost like you got a little mini 4-song set, and then you got the meat. Another free opener. We just got one, it seems like, in St. Louis last week, maybe, to open a second set, and it was another 7-8 minute free. I guess it's a placeholder.
I love
now.
it as I love it as an opener, though. What turned me onto it was the Sphere free that opened up one of the nights at the Sphere. And because I don't know, I usually like it later and more just jammed out, but I think it's so big and it has such the mechanism of the song with that like dum dum, like it just gets the band so locked in, and it's a pretty simple song. So to like not do something super intricate and to have something that gets them all locked in to start the set bodes well for the rest of the set most of the time. But Sand was pretty good.
No, it wasn't. 8 minutes. It was 8 minutes. I don't know.
It was fine.
It was fine, right? And fine is the F word because you've just accepted that they're going to give you a 7-minute free and an 8-minute Sand open a set. You're like, come on.
You're not going to get 40-minute jams all the time everywhere, and we just got like a big ass gin, and we got a 20-minute Ruby Waves. Yes,
what do we get next? We get a 19-minute Ruby Waves.
Yeah, which was fantastic.
The jam was.
That's what we're talking about. What are you talking about? You were literally just talking about jams, and my point is that a micro jam and Sand and free to get things warmed up and revved up that leads into an interesting 19-minute jam in Ruby Waves, which, by the way, before like 2 years ago or a year ago would have been massive. But now, because we get so many 30 and 40-minute jams, everybody's like, oh, it's only 20 minutes. But I mean, that's still a big, big jam. And I think, and the fact that they can keep Ruby Waves so interesting every time with this many I think it's awesome. That is not because like you think about disease, like the disease syndrome, right? Where for a long time all the disease jams sounded the exact same over. And Tweezer fell into this for a little bit. I mean, it got out of it, but there was a whole phase where like a period where every Tweezer sounded, every jam kind of went down the same path. the jams have been fantastic this tour. I don't care what anyone says. I get they're older. I know PHiSH is losing a little bit of step, a little pep in his hands. I get like the things, but the decisions they're making this tour and the jamming and the interplay between the four of them is as good as it's been in years.
I guess
maybe the whole
my
career.
issue my issue is that Ruby Waves, the jam in Ruby Waves could be in any song. Why do we have to stick it in Ruby Waves? Why can't we retire Ruby Waves and put it in something else?
I don't know, but that's just the way it is, right? Like there's something about it that makes it a jam
lyric ever
vehicle.
written. It's almost as bad as is there gas in the car? Yes, there's gas in the car.
Eric's onto something. See, they were well played, but they were simple. My point is that if you can get a couple of simple ones in to get everything locked in and then expand in the Ruby Waves, I say go for it.
See, we'll talk about Ruby Waves and Mondegreen. When we find each other in Mondegreen, I'll tell you all about Ruby Waves. Hood, in the middle of the set, I was like, really? It's 45 minutes in. What are we doing with Hood already?
Yeah, mid-set Hood was a decision.
That was the cue, though. That was the clue that we were going to get a guest.
Yeah, I think Zissix. I mean, I'm not giving credit to one person because there was tons of people speculating and that had it, but I just happened to see Zissix say, "Oh, this Hood means that Billy's coming out next." And then as soon as I read that, the Hood ended and Billy came out. I was like, "Damn, that was a good call." With the novelty of the set and with the guests and everything, it makes sense. And I usually love experimenting with the set list. It felt very weird to me having the Hood there. Like I hope this is never done again, to be honest. Like I'm not that much of a purist, but there's a couple of things like Cars, Trucks, Buses and Buried Alive have to open the show. Like you couldn't put that at the end for me. It'd feel weird. Hood can't do that mid set for me, but anyway.
Can I say something to Quadraphonic real quick? I love Steely Dan. I was just making fun. Steely Dan's like my third favorite band behind the Super Suckers and the Radiators. All right.
Where does PHiSH line up in there? And how many other podcasts do you on?
Probably fifth. I don't listen to PHiSH unless they're live. You know this. We've been through this.
But Kev, you listen to 5 shows a week.
I know. I know a lot about PHiSH, but when I'm not, if I'm sitting here alone, I'm like, I'm going to throw on the Clash or something. I'm not going to throw on a PHiSH show.
I might be a purist, Matt. I'm not sure.
All right. So this MoMA, I tell you what, I feel like all the Allman Brothers teases, Trey's been playing every night. We've been getting Mountain Jams and Liz Reeds and all kinds of teases.
Jessica one night, yeah.
Right. Totally. This is the fruit of all that. And little hesitant. I think it was a safe choice because they played it before together. Trey and Billy have played it before. So they got the ease in. I think they were not quite there in the beginning of the first jam, but once they locked in, the 9, 10, 11 last minutes of this were just, after they finished the song and went back out, that's where it took off. And when Trey stepped down off his platform and stood there and they looked each other in the eyes, we're watching each other playing, I was like, these guys are totally in tune right now.
So when you argued with me at the top of the show, it turned out you agreed with me 100%. You just wanted to argue because that's what I'm talking about. When it worked, which is the moment you're talking about at the end, it really freaking worked. But there were parts when it didn't lock in that I think that it was a little rough.
But Derek didn't lock in either. Derek didn't lock in for a while. Remember when we talked about the golden age? It took him halfway through the first jam before he even did anything.
Good of a memory. I'm not comparing to Derek. Let's put Derek aside. We can do that on another show. All I'm saying is tonight, it was not 100% all there. But when it was some of the best jamming and playing that I've heard in forever, if ever.
I feel like once they did the jam out of MoMA, they were on. The Possum with Billy stepping up and singing was just so fantastic. But
Possum was perfect.
The MoMA was so, I don't know. That MoMA was so fantastic that
I see you are on your way to getting kicked the F out of here, buddy.
I feel like the MoMA Billy was really pushing Trey, and Trey was letting him lead the band,
Yeah,
which you
no, I
don't get
agree.
much.
No, I agree with you. I listen. Trey doesn't get challenged and pushed often anymore because the band, for which is mostly a good thing, are like brothers, like more than brothers, right? Like they have this super close, intimate relationship, and they know each other, and it's like they've been married for 40 years, right? Which is usually good, but when it comes to like trying new things and pushing and everything, I don't know that they still do that at the same level. And when he has sit-ins or when he plays with other artists, I don't know that they have the skill or the rawness to be able to do that. Billy's that perfect combination of just being an insane musician without being in the PHiSH jam trope echo chamber, right?
Yeah,
Like Rick, people brought up Rick from Goose and them playing together. Like Rick is a great guitar player. I'm not going to say he's not, but he grew up and learned in the PHiSH art echo chamber, right? So he is not going to push Trey either. Billy's in a whole different path with a whole different set of influences. Actually, Jerry, you hear way more Jerry in his playing than Trey, right? Like it's a mix of
right.
like the bluegrass and so that I feel like really pushed Trey and came with really good moments. I still maintain that there were parts of the Everything's Right jam and parts of the Moment jam that were off. And I don't
Right.
blame them. That's like the first time the jam, but it was 100% worth it because when they did eventually get locked in, it paid off, huge.
And how cool was it to hear Billy playing an electric? To see
That
him
was cool.
plugged in and playing on electric. I thought the Possum was fantastic. He was shredding, and I felt a little bad for Trey because he shredded this solo, and he's like, "Take it, Trey." And Trey's like, "Clink, clink, clink." I was like,
I thought the same thing. I was like, oh, ouch. Which Trey, that has to be uncomfortable and something that he's not used to at all.
right.
I think we might have said it in passing, but it's worth pointing out again how awesome Billy's singing was on these songs, and especially the Possum. Well, no, and the whole encore too, but Possum, I was like, I don't know, it really made the song feel
Sounds
a
so
lot
much better
different.
than it sounded so much better than someone else.
I mean, yeah, yeah.
I thought I thought the Everything's Right. All right, it was done. So tomorrow you can go back and pull the Derek Everything's Right and the Billy Everything's Right and listen to them back and back to
I
back
will.
and really see who was the better guitar player.
I will. Well, and I don't want to say better guitar player too, because I think there's other aspects to
Fit
it.
in better. Fit in better.
Better jamming, made better decisions. I think from what I've seen, and I'm not an expert, I think Billy's probably prodigy better technically than any of these people. Like when it comes to just straight finger speed and technical chops, but there's a lot more that goes into it. I remember watching Derek and feeling like it was way better than I would have ever expected and being super high in it. So I'll go back and I'll report back to you. All right, let's talk about this
All right, there
encore
you
because
go.
this I think was when Billy was at his finest.
And it's what we expected. What we expected from a Billy sit-in was a couple bluegrass tunes. And again, he took it from Mike, took it from Trey, even though Trey stole back a verse.
Yeah, this was 100%, right? This is, and maybe that's where that take formed in my mind was after hearing this, you could tell that he was a little less comfortable with the electric and those other jams. Both the song choices and the instrumentation and being on acoustic absolutely nailed it. The other thing is I kind of felt bad for PHiSH because Billy kept pushing the tempo. And usually when they play these songs, they kind of sit on it and bounce, right? Well, at least now when you listen to like 92, he used to drive the hell out of them. But now they just kind of like sit on it. And Billy was not having that. He was fucking driving the shit out of this. And I didn't see PHiSH, but I felt like he was just like hanging on for dear life. Like, holy crap, I can't keep up. But he did. He held in there and it sounded great.
I'm old. I tell you what, this is the song I wanted to see. They were talking about if Billy comes out tonight on Facebook, and they were like, "What song do you want?" I was like, "Carini," and I wanted to hear some heavy metal, nasty Billy, and they plugged their guitars back in, and not the greatest Carini ever, but enough that they got a little nasty in it and it was loud. And I bet that place was just bonkers while they were doing it.
I was the perfect choice, right? Like, I'm glad that we got Nellie, Kane, and Beauty in My Dreams, and like we did the bluegrass thing. But I think to close out the show is the perfect choice. Yeah, I agree. This was incredible. This was a very special show, right? Like, without even comparing it to other shows, this is the kind of show that you remember and you go back to and you talk about, years down the road. So
they need to they need to release a live fish on LP of the Moma on one side and the Possum and Everything's Right on the other.
Yeah, that'd be cool. All right, guys, we'll be back here tomorrow. We'll be back here same
if
time,
you join
same place.
If you join and become a member, we got halftime hangs. It looked like poop today, but we'll be back tomorrow.
It looks great. It's fine.
I was making Sonic Youth jokes.